Phew. First, I want to start by thanking Jeff Lurie, Harry Roseman for giving me the opportunity to even be a part of this organization, to play for the city, and to have the experiences that I had. As I reflect a lot on my time here in Philadelphia, I go back to some of my first moments. I lived on an apartment on Broad and Bainbridge, and I used to ride up and down Broad Street to and from practice just to, to go back and forth. And one of the things I used to do was daydream on Broad Street about how epic it would be to bring the Super Bowl to the city, to think about where fans would convene, uh, and what that moment would be like. So it was surreal to be, 5 years later, actually living out that parade, to see and witness what it meant to the city, what it meant to this fan base, what it meant to this organization. To share that moment with my teammates was absolutely rewarding. And with all that daydreaming, with all the things I've envisioned, planned, and worked to do, none of it, or not, did I ever really see this moment of being inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame, to be thought of as one of the greats amongst people that I respected and idolized as a kid, with the Brian Dawkins of the world, the Reggie Whites, the McNabbs. To be alongside of them as peers is a huge honor, not only to me, but to every coach who's been a part of it, every teammate who's been a part of it, to every fan, my family who's been with me along the way. It's been one hell of a journey, and I'm super excited and humbled to be honored in this way. So yeah, open it up for questions.
Even since back in your Ohio State days, you were in your fraternity, you were a leader there. You were a leader at Ohio State. You brought championships to two different NFL teams. People have always looked at you as a leader. What is it about you that people turn to you in such a way?
You know what? I've been blessed to be around some really dynamic leaders, and it has helped me be prepared for a lot of the moments that I've faced. So every time somebody compliments me on my leadership skills, I can point you directly to a leader who I saw handle the same situation. Whether it was the way Jonathan Vilma, I watched him deal with players and coaches, the way I watched Drew Brees handle the media, and times that were hard and times that were up. Um, I've had so many leaders throughout my career and life that have made deposits into me, and so I'm when people compliment my leadership, I feel rewarded, because I feel like I'm holding the torch for all of those leaders who taught me lessons, who took me under their wing, and helped me become who I needed to be.
Is it significant to be the first one from that 17 team?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize that at first when I first got the call, to be recognized as the first Eagle from that Super Bowl team, that first Super Bowl team to go into the Hall of Fame, is not something that's light. That team meant so much to the city. There are so many leaders and players on that team that contributed in such a way. So to be intentionally kind of that first one is just rewarding, to hear how much my contributions meant, not only to the fan base but to the organization. It's a huge, huge honor, and is extremely humbling.
You talked about your respect for Doc quite a bit. What was it like when he cast obviously such a shadow in this over this organization?
Yeah,
Like, how did you navigate that? And now, how do you feel now, sort of being alongside?
yeah. Tall men cast tall shadows, man, and no, at the safety position there is no higher standard than Brian Dawkins, and so I know when I got here. I just decided I wasn't going to try to walk in the shadows. And I would try to create my own lane. But I understood what his example meant. This city responds to fighters. This city responds to people who wear their passions on their sleeve. Um, and this city responds to people who are consistent. And those are things that I stole from Brian Dawkins. Every time I face tough situations, I thought about you know him, the history of his kind of presence, and what that presence looks like and means. It goes beyond the the results of a particular game, it's like somebody's voice, speaks for an entire city, and that's what I wanted to always emulate. I wanted to always kind of establish that for myself. And I think Brian Dawkins and so many other players before him just set a amazing standard of like what it looks like to really fill the shoes um, for a Philadelphia Eagle.
How much have the demands of the position changed since when you were coming up? Now you're watching, in hindsight. How much has the defensive back, your role changed?
I mean, it changed a lot, even in my, 13-year career, where you had really specialized kind of position specific guys where toward the end of my career, the more versatile you were, the better. Even on this defense, I look at like a Cooper DeJean who can play multiple roles and how valuable he is to the defense because of that. So the role, changed a lot, especially as the offense got a lot more dynamic. Tight ends became more closer to wideouts. Running backs are being used like wideouts. Suddenly you need these defenders that can be, utility guys that can line up on the slot, line up on a tight end, cover a back, blitz, play zone, play man. If you don't have a guy that can do all of those things, when you run into injuries, you run into issues, bad matchups, you have a hard time adjusting. So, I see now a lot more versatility when you look at, who the premium players in a secondary is.
I know you're not not too far away, just up the turnpike, but off the field, what keeps you connected to the city from the business side and also on the personal level?
I mean, my time in Philadelphia was defining for my life. Like who I am as a person, I was really carved out here. And my dad taught me at a very young age to always take care of the places you call home, that we're responsible to home. And so not only here in Philadelphia, but everywhere that has, I've been able to rest my head, whether it's Columbus, Ohio, whether it's New Orleans, it's Jersey. It's been really important to me to make sure that my impact lasts long after I leave. And I consider all of these places home, Philadelphia especially. So it really is, it only makes sense to me that like my foundation is still very active, that the work I do is still very active in the city because I still consider this, a place that's home. And when I think about moments like this too, when I think of how much honor this city and fan base has bestowed upon me, I feel responsible, to keep that presence. It's a symbiotic relationship that I get just as much, or try to give just as much as I receive, and I've received a whole hell of a lot.
In the newsletter this morning, you spoke about some behind-the-scenes people who played a part in this. Who are those people, and what role do they have in your journey?
Yeah, there's so many people to thank. That I'm definitely going to do it a disservice trying to point people out. But I think of, immediately the folks that usually don't get it credit. I talked about my masseuse Michelle, who, everybody credited me for not missing a single game and being available. She was a huge part of that process of just getting me ready week to week, and all the things I had to do with my body. When I think of consistency and a voice and an energy that doesn't change, I think about the Eagles custodian, Troy, literally every day, no matter the circumstances, no matter how he got to and from work that day, no matter what's going on, he's got a smile on his face and energy when he enters the room. Paying attention to things like that made it so easy to have a good attitude, to want to come to work, to have a good perspective, because the Eagles organization has surrounded itself or infused itself with so many good people, and not just players, not just coaches, but that the entire building. And so if I could, point out every single person that contributed, we'd be here for an awful long time. But I would love for everyone who has felt that they played a part in my career, whether you were a fan who expressed your appreciation for me, whether you're somebody who directly impacted my career, thank you. Whether you know it or not, small or large, those things mean something to me. They kept me going when I didn't want to. kept me motivated, kept me accountable. And so, yeah, I really appreciate the small things just as much as I do the big ones.
When you're on a Super Bowl team, is there a point in the season where you know it? And what are the qualities that you're looking for?
The funny thing is, everybody knows it early. I think it's one thing to know that you have the talent and has what it takes to win a Super Bowl. Then the rest of the season is how do you prove it and how do you protect it. So part of that becomes performance, and then the other part is kind of out of your control, but it's how do you stay healthy. And so there's a little bit of luck in that, but it is about once you know it, how do you do everything in your power to protect it, whether it's the locker room, whether it's the way you prepare for games, whether it's any disputes or issues that you've got to squash out before they become good. Because the best of us, especially ones who've been in the league a long time, understanding there's a window to win. It's hard to win, especially if you're talking about a championship level. And so if you're not fully present and taking the absolute full advantage of every opportunity you have while you have that window, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
So 17, you knew.
Oh, 17, yeah. 16, we knew that we had the talent. You know, we didn't get the result that we wanted, but we were in a bunch of different games. We knew we had a quarterback that could do it. We knew we had a defense that was going to get better. And then once we added the Torrey Smiths, the Chris Longs, LeGarrette Blunts, guys who had championship pedigree, who knew what it took, who could speak up when needed to, and when we needed it, we knew what we had for sure. We wouldn't have, been able to go on the stretch as an underdog if we didn't already know what was in the building. The toughest thing was for us not to forget that, to not let the crowd and the media convince us otherwise, regardless of what the situation is. And I think that's most of the time, most of the important parts of team building is not what you can prove or accomplish, but it's like, what can you ignore? What can you resist believing about yourself that people are telling you? And how do you not forfeit the dream based on circumstance? Yeah, and lucky for us, we didn't abort that dream, and we are still reaping the fruits of that labor today.
As fans,
Last one,
your name up there for however long now. What do you want that legacy to be?
That legacy is ongoing. I think we like to think of legacy as a finish line, and to each his own. I think if you would have asked me when I was a kid, making it to the Eagles Hall of Fame would have looked like a finish line to me. But the closer and closer I get to this, you start to realize that it's just the beginning. These are springboards. These are just opportunities for us to stop, smell the roses, and to really appreciate just how far one's influence can go, just how much impact you can have by choosing to fight and love in any arena in your life. And so, yeah, if anything, I hope that this is proof to many people who are out there who are thinking about what they can accomplish as an individual, what it means, and how they can create change. I hope my example is one that proves that one individual can create a culture that lasts far and beyond their own influence.
Last one, I'd like to see just this steady stream of defensive backs coming out of Jersey. Jabril,
Yeah.
Minka, since you were drafted, there's been pretty much 10, 15 years of first round picks now.
Yeah.
What's that legacy like?
It's cool. We don't really talk about it in the context of Jersey when we talk about how much talent has come out of there. Even in my draft class, we had like 7 or 8, maybe 9 guys that were in the first round that were all from Jersey. I think there's no pipeline, of a DBU or anything like that. But I do think that there are qualities of growing up in New Jersey where guys are usually humble. We work hard. We have a chip on our shoulder. We don't mind being uncomfortable, and just go about our business. And I think the amount of consistency that we've seen over the years, the amount of examples, only begets more examples. Like when you see it, and you can look at myself or Jason and Devin McCourty, and literally see the roadmap, the steps that it takes. I think they're from New York, but they played in Jersey at some point. Yeah, even in my hometown, like myself, Kyle Wilson played on the same high school team, both first round corners. So yeah, Jersey puts it on. I don't know what's in the water, but it's working. Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Cool.